We've now completed stage 2 and we are with our cabinet ready. If you're planning on constructing the stand before you get to wherever the aquarium is going to be, this is the stage at which you stop, because you can take this and put it in position. You still have access to do the next stage, which is leveling the system. You cannot do this after you put any more parts onto the stand. When choose the position, note carefully the diagram we have in our instruction manual. You must keep at least the width of a body to give you access to the back at both sides of the aquarium. You must leave at least 15 centimeters or about 6 inches between the back of the aquarium and the wall. At the front, you need to have at least the length of the aquarium on one side or the other, enabled to put on the color trim and to change the lamp tubes. We'll now move on to the next stage, which is putting the aquarium on top. Again, pay attention to the instruction manual where we show how to sit the aquarium. The back of the aquarium is to be placed exactly in line with the back of the stand. The sides of the aquarium and the front of the aquarium protrude beyond the size of the base. Make sure the aquarium sits in the center so that you've got an even protrusion on either side. We're about to put the aquarium on top of the stand. However, before we do that, I want to show you something which is not connected to the assembly process. However, because we can actually see the back of the aquarium, this is the perfect opportunity to show you how it works. I'm referring specifically now to this area here, which has the flow valve controlling the rate of water that flows from the aquarium down to the sump. Over time, obviously with a marine system, we can get calcium buildup, or there can be any kind of foreign body that goes in, so we have to be able to take this valve apart, clean it and maintain it. This is done very easily, even when it's 15 centimeters or 6 inches from the wall. It can be done with one hand. However, in order to make that process easier, despite the drawings in the manual, it's best if you do this at least once while you still have full access to the valve itself. Around the valve there are 4 rubber plugs which are protecting 4 stainless steel screws. Pull out the plugs. One, two, three, 4. And then using the Allen key that we provide with the aquarium, release the 4 screws one at a time. I'm doing all of this as if there was in fact a very small gap, and you can gently pull it away. And this is the inside of the valve. It has a simple rubber diaphragm, and in the event that it needs cleaning, you can clean it. You can take the whole thing off and replace it. So everything is serviceable. Similarly, with a damp cloth, you have access to all of the inside of the valve to clean it. There are protrusions on the side of the valve here, which means that you can only assemble it in the correct direction. You simply return it to its place and put the screws back in one at a time. Don't tighten them fully until all 4 screws are in position, and then just give them a final tightening. When all 4 screws are tight, just replace the 4 rubber plugs. While we're already down in this area, I also want to bring your attention to the top-up chamber. This is your RO water chamber, and underneath here you have the outlet where we're going to attach the pipe that takes the water down to the float valve. Again, once the aquarium is on the stand, we won't be able to see it. We're now ready to level the aquarium. You could level the stand before we put the glass on, but our experience is best to make sure you've got the weight of the glass on the frame, making sure everything is sitting properly before we do the leveling process. The easiest way we've found is to first of all check your situation on the two sides, adjusting the feet up and down to make the two sides work, and then go back to front. You can put your level on the plastic rail on the bottom of the aquarium, or you can put it along the top. As you wish, they're both accurate and it'll get the same result. It's fully explained in the manual, but by rotating the leg in a clockwise position, you are going to lower the aquarium in that area, and by rotating the leg in the anti-clockwise position, you will be raising the aquarium. I'm not going to show you the process because it's long, but we will now do that, and I'll show you that it is level at the end. Okay, we've finished adjusting the four corner feet, and we now have a level aquarium in all directions. Okay, so we've finished our leveling, and now we're going to raise the lock nut into position on the four corners. This is extremely important because this is what carries the weight of the aquarium. Don't forget to use the spanner or wrench that we've provided with the system, and make sure that is absolutely tight. We do the same thing in all four corners. I've lowered the center leg now so that it is properly in touch with the floor. If you've got a thick pile carpet, make sure that it is not just touching the carpet, but has contact with the floor underneath it. Again, once you're in position, don't forget to raise the lock nut into position and tighten it with the spanner or wrench. Boards of the sump compartment of the chiller compartment. The two boards are fairly obvious which is which. The sump compartment's the large one, the chiller compartment's the small one, and in terms of direction you'll see there is a rounded corner on the sump side that goes in the middle. On the chiller side there's some extra holes cut out here on the side for the panel holders which are in the position there. To put them in, simply place it in and find the right location and drop it into position. One, and two. We're now going to put in the plastic walls on the left and right hand side of the sump compartment. They are there of course to protect the aluminium, since there is a lot of water and humidity arising from the sump. They are attached with plastic rivets that just push through the plates, and you'll need the mallet to knock them into position, just so you can differentiate between the left and the right board. You will see they are almost identical, except that there's a large cutout in the top corner of the one that goes in the center. The boards have a rough side and a smooth side. The smooth side is towards the sump, the rough side is on the other side. So that one goes in there like that, and that one goes like that. We've now finished installing both of the internal plastic walls. On the Max 500 you'll find this shape piece, and this in fact goes as a fascia surround for the power draw area, and I'm about to put that on. We're now ready to add the colour trim to the top and bottom, front and sides of the aquarium. Okay, I've laid out all of the parts here. They're easy to identify which is which. The larger parts, this size, goes along the bottom, and the thinner one, the smaller one, goes along the top. In terms of left and right, you will see the smaller ones that go on the sides have a small protrusion at one end. This is always to the front. This, as it happens, is the part that goes on the lower side, and we just line it up with the plastic trim on the side, slide it in. The side ones we have to slide a little bit towards the back. The front one, the top and the bottom, work exactly the same way. This is part of the reason that we have to have at least one width of the aquarium to the side, because we have to either go from this side or from the other side to slide it in. Again, we line it up on the black trim, and it should just slide gently across the front. I've stopped there deliberately. Sometimes it is a little bit stiff, and you can use our same rubber mallet to gently tap the profile into position. Not always necessary, but you can do it if you have to. When we've brought the front piece into the center, we take our corner, we put the corner onto the front, and then we slide the side back until it fits correctly in position. On the back we have a plug that we then put into the back of the profile, and we tap that in position with our hand. Now we just do the same on the rest of the parts. We've finished putting on all of the trim. The idea is that there is a small gap between the corner and the centerpiece. There is a gap there that is deliberate, and we just have to move the centerpiece so that the gap is even on both sides, and if possible also top and bottom. Next stage is to put in the sump piping. You'll find one complete manifold. Okay, this is the sump manifold that has a valve for the piping to the skimmer and the valve for the piping to the chiller or auxiliary equipment. Make sure the valves are closed so that afterwards we don't have any unforeseen accidents. The piping is connected to the aquarium with union connectors. We've taped the O-rings into position to make sure they don't get lost in transit. Remember to remove the tape and do a check that the O-ring is actually in position. The manifold is then clipped up into the 3 clips that we screwed previously onto the underside of the aquarium base. You'll also notice there is a plugged hole here. This is to enable you to later on to maybe add any kind of accessory reactors or equipment. You just undo that, and there's a 3/4 inch threaded connector there. Okay, I'm now going to push it into position. Next we're going to put the chiller return pipe into position by clicking it onto the 2 clips that are on the rear wall. We're now about to put the sump into the sump compartment, but because there is this bracket in the front, we have to lift the sump up and slide it in. When we put it in, we want to position it so that we are just a few millimeters away from the back and a few millimeters away from the sides. Now the sump is in position. Make sure that the skimmer platform is on its shelf inside the sump, that the 3 grids are there where we place the carbon, and that the line for the top-up water down to the float valve goes up through the hole at the back here. And in a minute we're going to attach that to the outlet of the reservoir at the back of the aquarium. I've just removed the cover from the overflow chamber. I'm now going to connect it to the piping that's come from the float valve. We connect that up, and now I'll return it to a position. We're now going to connect the 2 down pipes that go from the valving system here at the back down into the sump. If you haven't found these in the crate, you very well might find they have been shipped to you in the pump compartment at the back of the aquarium. So just lift off the lid and you'll find them in there. Again, we've taped the tops to make sure the O-rings don't fall off. Remove the tape and make sure the O-rings are there before you put them in. To get them in, feed them one at a time through the hole in the back. I can't show it to you, but as they come down, you'll see them coming out above the sump. Once you've got the tubes in position, just tighten the union connectors and make sure they are watertight. We're now going to stick the cable channels onto the back of the aquarium. You can't see what I'm doing, it's explained in the manual. Just pull the covering off the double-sided tape and stick them into the back of the tank as shown.